Hey guys, so I just wanted to hop on and talk to you guys about some nutritional strategies called intermittent fasting and carb cycling. Now, before you freak out at both of those words, just hear me out and hang with me. And even if you think that you know a little bit about these two, or maybe you've already been incorporating these, go ahead and listen to the video. You might learn something new. So, intermittent fasting, let's start with that. A lot of people really get overwhelmed and just kind of stress out when they hear that word. I was one of them. I never thought that I would be one to say that I did intermittent fasting just because I didn't think that it was for me. And that is a common conception when you are considering doing intermittent fasting. But after doing tons of research and looking into this nutritional strategy, it is so good for us. And here's why. It takes us 12 hours to digest our last meal. So if we are finishing up dinner most nights around 8 or 9 p.m., finishing up with that evening snack, and then we're turning right around and eating breakfast at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., we're not giving our bodies enough time to even digest and process our last meal. So that's where intermittent fasting comes into play. So whether you want to, do a traditional fasting, which is around 16 to 18 hours, you should at least be aiming for a 12-hour fast almost every day to give your body that time to digest your last meal. Even our kids should be trying to incorporate that 12-hour fast. It's good for them as well. But like I said, if you want to take it a little bit further into that traditional 16 to 18 hour fast, you are again giving your body that digestive rest and allowing your body to burn through your last meal, burn through all the the carbs and the sugar for energy, and then it's going to start to turn to your fat stores for energy. So that's when you can kind of get into that fat burning mode, and that's why I love intermittent fasting. So if you are going to try to start to incorporate this into your lifestyle, here's what I recommend. Again, we should all be doing a 12-hour fast. Regardless, we should all be aiming to do a 12-hour fast. But from that point, you will want to gradually increase that. So don't just go right into a 16 or 18-hour fast, because your body will definitely be like, what's happening? I'm not feeling so good. I'm feeling a little nauseous. I feel a headache coming on. I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling weak. This does not feel good. So if you will gradually work up to that, it is going to be so much better. So that is how I got into extending my fast a little bit longer. As I started with the 12-hour, then maybe the next day took it to a 12 and a half to a 13-hour, and then gradually worked myself up. Another very, very important thing, if you are going to try an extended fast, anything over 12 hours, is to make sure you're drinking lots of water. Most importantly, electrolyte water. So when you do start to experience the headache, the fatigue, the nausea, that's usually a lack of minerals versus your blood sugar dropping. Okay, most of the time it's a matter of minerals, that your body has lost its minerals. So we need to replenish and replace that. So any of my clients that are doing an extended fast, trying to aim for 14, 16, 18 hours, I highly recommend that they are drinking electrolyte water to keep those minerals up. So minerals are going to be your sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Okay, so that is super important if you are going to try to do the fasting. Now, a lot of people get confused with the fasting, and they think it has to be a certain time of day every single day. That's not how it works. It is very flexible. And let me go ahead and say this, it's not all or nothing. So yes, I do intermittent fasting most days of the week, but sometimes on Saturday or Sunday, I love to go out and enjoy breakfast with my family. But again, I'm aiming for that 12-hour fast at least. And then, if I want to break it at that point, then, that's up to me. So it's very flexible, and it is not all or nothing. And say I do that one day or 2 days, then I get I'll go right back to that 16 to 18-hour fast. But let's talk about the timing of your fasting. So a lot of people get caught up on your eating window, having that 6 to 8 eating window. And that's not really our focus. So when you start to calculate and you start to figure up your fasting, you are going to take it from the last meal that you have for the day. So if your last meal is ending at 8 p.m., that is when you're going to start counting towards the next day. Okay, so a lot of your fast is done while you're sleeping, and then you wake up in the morning, and then you can have your coffee, you could have your tea, you could have your BCAAs, and then break your fast around noon, or gradually work up to that point. Now, let's talk about also what breaks your fast while we're talking about this, because there's a lot of confusions here. So the number one best way you can fast, the best benefits of fasting would be to have, during your fasting window, you're having either water, and especially electrolyte water, black coffee, and unsweet tea. So 0 calories, 0 protein, 0 carbs. That is the valedictorian of fasting. That gets you, an A+. Now, another option would be an A is going to be 40 to 50 calories or less. So if you're like me and you have a hard time drinking black coffee, add a little bit of almond milk, or a little bit of cream. Add a little bit of stevia to your coffee. And like I said, as long as it's under 40 to 50 calories, it will not create an insulin response, and that will not technically break your fast. The third option is going to be called fat fasting, and I also do this as well. Most of you all know that I enjoy Bulletproof coffee, and I have it on most days. Bulletproof coffee, if it's made right, and if you have questions about Bulletproof coffee, please let me know. Don't just go Google it or find a recipe on Pinterest, because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be the right recipe that I would recommend for you to use. So Bulletproof coffee has 0 protein, has 0 carbs, but it does have fat. So again, that's why it's considered fat fasting. But it does not create an insulin response in the body. So technically it is not breaking my fast, even though it has calories, even though it has fat. Okay, so that's going to be the third option. Now, again, a lot of confusion with this. People will think that doing Bulletproof coffee will increase your benefits of fasting, and that is not the case. Okay, so remember that number one way, the best benefits, it's going to be water, black coffee, unsweet tea. The next option is going to be 40 to 50 calories or less during your fast. And then the third option is doing the Bulletproof coffee. And this is what I tell people if you're interested in doing the Bulletproof coffee and why I do it. I'm able to extend my fast a little bit longer when I have Bulletproof coffee. And I just really love it. It helps me to feel fuller. I feel like it really gives me awareness, kind of clears that brain fog. And I seem to do really well with it. Again, it's not for everyone, and I'm not saying that I recommend that you do it, but that is the reasons for it. And again, I just wanted to say that it is not going to, increase your benefits of fasting if you do choose to do Bulletproof coffee. It just kind of helps me get through that fast a little bit better. So if you have more questions on that, please let me know. But again, as far as you are, your timing goes, that can be Flexible. So again, say, you wrap up dinner or your snack at 7 p.m. That's when you start counting. Maybe you have a late night. Maybe you go out to dinner with friends and you don't finish eating until 10 p.m. That's when you start counting your fast. So it's not the eating window that we're so much concerned about. It's just that fasting window, and you will adjust that every day to fit your schedule. Okay. And again, this is totally optional. You guys do not have to participate in intermittent fasting. I just wanted to explain it to you, tell you the benefits of it, tell you why I do it. I feel like it's been a game changer for me for sure, and just I could tell a big difference as far as my energy levels and being able to stay in my macros. I can stay within my macros so much better when I do intermittent fasting. So if you have questions on it, let me know. And, we'll kind of, when you're doing your daily post, if you want to tell me how long you fasted, I would love to hear that. So please feel free to, add that in when you're posting your macros and your nutrients tab. And you guys are doing amazing with that. I'm so proud of you. Keep that up. So let's kind of go into the next strategy, which is called carb cycling. Now, carb cycling is something that I have been doing for a long time, and I love it. I think it is a fantastic nutritional strategy. And basically what it is exactly what it sounds like. You cycle through regular carb days and low carb days. So, you're giving your body those really good carbs. And again, when we're talking about this, we are talking about whole food nutrition. So good carbs, your rice, your beans, your quinoa, your fruits, things like that, your potatoes that we are incorporating on those regular carb days. So carb cycling creates metabolic confusion. Like I said, you're having those regular carb days, and then we're taking them away. We're taking away those carbs, and then we're giving them back, and then we're taking them away. So you're constantly confusing your body. And again, it's such a great nutritional strategy. Again, it's optional. You do not have to participate in carb cycling if you do not want to, but I recommend that you try it and see if it works for you and see if you like it. So let's talk about low carb days. So on low carb days, I want you to calculate net carbs. And what in the world does that mean? So a net carb is the total amount of carbs that you have logged into MyFitnessPal, total carbs, and you are going to subtract your fiber, okay? And you guys know I've been talking to you and kind of commenting when I've seen that you have gotten a really good amount of fiber. I'm like, I love all that fiber. Fiber is so good for you. It's going to help you to feel fuller, longer. It's amazing, really helps with digestion. So we're aiming to get as much fiber as possible. So we're going to take our total carbs and we're going to subtract our fiber from that. So for instance, if you have 75 grams of total carbs today, but you have 25 grams of fiber, we're going to subtract that, okay? So that would give you 50 net carbs. And that is going to be our goal on low carb days, 50 grams of net carbs. So remember that, okay? Now, when we're talking about, our fiber, like I said, MyFitnessPal is not going to subtract it for you. You have to do the math, or I have to do the math when I'm looking at your nutrition tab. So MyFitnessPal will not take away fiber to create your net carbs. That's something that you have to do. And it's pretty simple math, but if you need to, grab a calculator to figure it up. So that is our goal on low carb days, is to aim for 50 grams of net carbs or less. So total carbs minus fiber plus sugar alcohols. Now, not sugar, Okay, it's going to specifically, like if you're eating a protein bar or you're drinking a protein shake, it will specifically say on it that it has sugar alcohols. And usually when you look at the ingredients on, and I hope that you guys are reading those labels and that you're looking at the ingredients of the things that you're eating. Sugar alcohols will usually end in an OL, like erythritol is a very common one that's added into protein bars. So you can also subtract those. So when you are posting into your daily posts, if you have sugar alcohols, be sure to let me know that, okay? Because like I said, I can look at your total carbs and your fiber and kind of tell where you're falling on those net carbs. But just add that in, let me know, hey, I had 5 grams of sugar alcohols also to this. So that'll kind of help me as I'm coaching you. So on regular carb days, it's just like what we've been doing this week as we've been practicing, logging and tracking our food. We are staying within those carbohydrate macros. So, say you can have up to 175 grams of carbs. You are managing those. You can have up to 175 grams of carbs. So that's on a regular carb day. Now, do you have to have all those? Absolutely not. You remember, the only macro we are aiming to hit every day is that protein. I want you hitting that protein every single day or getting very close to it, okay? Some of you all are like, I'm nowhere near my calories. Not a big deal. We do not have to worry about calories unless you are super low on protein. If you're super low on protein and you're also very low on calories, that's when your body is going to go into starvation mode. But if you hit your protein goal, or like I said, get very close to it, and you haven't hit your calories for the day, that's okay. We're not aiming to hit our calories. We're not aiming to hit our carbs. We're not aiming to hit the fat. The only thing that we're aiming to hit is protein, okay? So I hope you guys understand that. And on those regular carb days, like I said, you can have up to what MyFitnessPal gives you. But again, you do not have to hit that. But what I do recommend is that you at least try to get to 100 grams of carbs on regular carb days, okay? Because we want to make sure we are creating that cycle. If you are constantly staying low carb all the time, you're actually doing your body more harm than you are good. So we want to cycle those carbs. So if I see that you are on a regular carb day, you're not getting to 100 grams of total carbs, then yes, I'm going to say something like, hey, we need to get those carbs up a little bit on regular carb days. And guys, an easy add to bring your carbs up is going to be fruit. That's the number one easiest way to bring up carbs on a regular carb day, is adding in some fruit. An apple, a banana is 20 to 30 grams of carbs right there. So very easy add. And when we are considering doing this carb cycling, it's all about adding and subtracting. So on a low carb day, our main food sources are going to come from meats and veggies. Okay, so those are, high protein. Those are low carbs. You're adding your nuts, your seeds, your healthy fats like your avocados, your olive oil, your avocado oils, things like that on a low carb day. So we're taking away all those carbs. So, we're getting all of our nutrients from the proteins and veggies. So on those days, you're going to notice that your protein, it might be well over your goal, and that's okay. I'm okay with that on a regular carb day. If your fats are way over your fat goal on a low carb day, I'm okay with that as long as you're staying within your calories, okay? So a lot of people start to, really get concerned with that. Just my fat, that it's so high. Well, are you in your calories? Are you staying within your calories? Yeah, I am. You're good. Then keep doing that. That's great. But that's what I'm saying, on those on those low carb days, if you're noticing your proteins and your fats are higher, that's okay. Just stay within your calories, okay? And then as we go into the regular carb days, we're going to try to even that out a little bit. So maybe, trying to dial back on that protein and fats, but we're upping the carbs. We're getting the carbs back. So just make sure that you're creating that cycle, that you're not staying low carb all the time. And I'll be watching your nutrients tabs, kind of coaching you guys, giving you some ideas. So, like I said, on a low carb day, we're really focusing on the meats and veggies and those healthy fats. And then on regular carb days, we're adding fruit, we're adding potatoes, we're adding rice, we're adding quinoa. So for example, on a low carb day for dinner, I'm going to have some chicken breast and some asparagus and maybe half an avocado. On a regular carb day, I'm going to have chicken breast, I'm going to have asparagus or broccoli. Maybe I'll have an avocado, or maybe I'll replace that with a sweet potato. So you're always just adding and subtracting on, the regular carb days versus the low carb days. Here's the schedule that I like to use. Now, do not feel like you have to stick to my schedule. This is what works for me and what I found that works for most of my clients. But again, this strategy is flexible as well. It is not all or nothing. But here's the schedule that I like to stick with. I love to come in on Mondays and have a low carb day, just because I feel like Mondays, it's kind of a reset. We've been busy going out, eating out, being more social on, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it's time to dial it back in on Monday. So I always like to start my week with a low carb day. So again, remember, low carb days, you're aiming for 50 grams of net carbs or less. Tuesdays, I like to add the carbs back. Add them back, have a regular carb day on Tuesdays. Then I like to come back in right before the weekend on Wednesday and Thursday, have another low carb day back to back. So 2 low carb days back to back. Now, let me explain the benefit of that. There's huge benefits in doing 2 low carb days back to back. So when you are taking away the carbs, then we are lowering our insulin and glucose levels, okay? So when we pair those 2 days back to back, we really deplete that and deplete that glycogen, which is carbs stored in our liver. So we're depleting all of that, which really forces our body to go into that fat burning mode. And we all want that, right? We want to be a fat burner. So those 2 low carb days together, there are huge benefits from that. So that's just what I recommend. That's what I like to do. Monday, low carb, Tuesday, regular, Wednesday, Thursday, low carb days, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, regular carb. And again, that's me. That's what works for me. I am in more of a maintenance mode. So, those having the 3 low carb with the 4 regular carb works really well for me. Now, if you are wanting to be a little bit more aggressive, then I am perfectly fine with you doing a 4 low carb to a 3 regular carb. And again, you can pair that however you like. The best scenario, I think, would be to do Sunday, Monday, low carb, Tuesday, regular carb, Wednesday, Thursday, low carb, and then Friday, Saturday, regular carb. But again, that is just an example. You make it work for you. But as you're posting and you're letting me know, what if you're carb cycling, I want you to know, or let me know if you're changing your schedule. Let me know that today is a low carb day for me, or today I had to switch it up. Today's a regular carb day for me. That way I can coach you better. Because if we're coming in on Monday, I'm expecting most of you to be doing a low carb day. But if that's not a low carb day for you, then I need you to tell me this is a regular carb day. Because chances are I'll come in and say, hey, we need to, dial back the carbs a little bit. So just kind of give me that heads up. Trying to see if there's anything else that I wanted to add into carb cycling. it can be a little bit confusing in the beginning, just trying to figure it out. So, give it some time. Don't just try it for a day or two and throw your hands up and be like, I cannot do this. Give it at least a week, if not 2 weeks, to kind of, figure it out. Once you kind of figure out what foods are higher in carbs, what foods are lower in carbs, then it's going to become so much easier to you. And here's the thing, guys, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple, whole food nutrition, and pre-log. I've already stressed that to you guys, how important that is. And that is so much even more important when you're doing carb cycling. That way you can see where you're falling for the day. So, come in tonight all right, tomorrow's a low carb day. So I need to stay within, 50 grams of net carbs. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-log everything, put everything in that I plan to eat tomorrow. And remember, like I said, plans change, things come up, that's life, it happens. If it does, roll with it, go with it, do the best that you can. Progress, not perfection, but at least have an idea of where you're at. And then, you can look at it and you can, make adjustments. Hey, that's pretty high in carbs. That's kind of throwing me over. So I'm going to take that off and then I'm going to replace it with this. Again, it all comes back to that adding and subtracting and pre-logging, kind of seeing where you're falling. So, I feel like that pretty much covers the basics of intermittent fasting and carb cycling, but you guys know that you can always ask me questions if I've confused you, or if you have more questions about what we've talked about. Please let me know, comment below, because if you have questions about it, then chances are someone else is going to have a similar question at least. So, always put your comments down below and I'll come in and answer those. Again, these are optional. If you do not want to participate, you do not want to try this out, not a big deal. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep logging and tracking, and I want you to manage your macros, just like we've been doing this last week. All right. I hope this has been helpful. Again, if you have any more questions at all, please let me know. I'm here to help you. You guys are doing great. Keep it up. Let's keep moving forward.